Welcome to Cassie's Eclectic Garden. I'm Cassie and I garden in Zone 6A in Northwest Ohio. Today we are going to take another tour of my Monarch Way Station garden that I shared with you a few weeks ago. I have promised you some updates throughout the season and today is our first update. We're running a little late. We normally try to get our videos out on Friday or Saturday and we did not hit that deadline last week. We've been dealing with quite a bit of rain, especially in the mornings when we like to video. Then when it quit raining, the weeds had grown so much I just had to get out and get some weeds pulled. So we finally had a good day to get out and get this done, and let's get going. Well, you can see that the blue jays are chewing me out because they're out of peanuts. So I will try to talk over the blue jay. This is the west end of the Monarch Way Station. And over here on the left side, there are three proven winners: Prairie Winds, Cheyenne Sky, red switchgrasses. And those are coming along nicely. On this side here, we have two different varieties of coreopsis, also called tick seed. I've been trying to keep it deadheaded, but flowers come and go on this faster than I can keep up with it sometimes. But they recommend that you deadhead coreopsis to get more blooms. So that's what I've been trying to do. Now behind the coreopsis here, we have pale purple coneflower. This plant has really taken off this year. This is the third year. It is, well actually this is the second year. So it's creeping, and if it leaps next year, I'm going to be overtaken with pale purple coneflowers. But I love this plant. I wasn't sure I was going to like it because I like the regular coneflowers so much. But I have really fallen in love with this pale purple coneflower. Now back behind that, up here, we have showy goldenrod. And over on this side is stiff goldenrod. And when we get further down the garden, I will show you some more of those. I've got one that's getting ready to bloom here pretty soon. So this is the west end of the garden. I've got a little more to show you here, but I got to reposition my camera, so hold on a minute. Now tucked back in the middle of the garden here, way down here, where those little pinky purple flowers are, that is Geranium maculatum. And this was the first garden that I've ever actually planned the whole garden. And I've planned it to have 3 seasons of color. And that is my spring flower. And in the springtime, that's the first one that blooms. And all of this other foliage is not up yet. So it's the showcase of the garden in the spring. The blooms kind of die back and it doesn't do anything for most of the summer. So it just kind of hides in there among all the foliage, keeping cool, not getting too much sun. And next spring, we'll have that for our spring flowers again. So we've got the Geranium maculatum for spring. We've got coreopsis tick seed and pale purple coneflower for late spring and summer. And now let's look at some more. Now we're in the middle area of the garden where all of the goldenrod is. And tucked in between, I've got 4 goldenrod plants here. And tucked in between all of these goldenrod are 2 big pots. And in those pots are pineapple sage. And that's what these little red flowers are. This is pineapple sage. And it's just starting to bloom. Actually, it had blooms on it when I bought it, but it doesn't normally bloom until late spring and in through summer and into fall. So that's going to be a nice attractant for the hummingbirds. And you almost can't see it right now for the goldenrod, but it will take off here in a couple of weeks and be looking beautiful. And just to the south of the pineapple sage is the stiff goldenrod. And last year the showy goldenrod bloomed first, but for this summer we're going to have stiff goldenrod first, and you can see the little flower buds on this flower stalk, and that's going to be blooming here pretty soon. Now we are in the east area of the Monarch Way Station, and there's a lot going on in this area. We have, here is New England aster, and that's part of my fall color. That won't be blooming yet for a couple of months. But let's see what else we've got here. Let's do a little. Down here we have blue-eyed grass, and that was part of my spring color. And I get cats in this garden really bad, and they knock some of my weaker plants over, so that's kind of laying flat right now. I'm hoping it'll bounce back. But then if we come over this way and come to the back a little bit, well, here on the back side we have got perennial phlox, and in front of that there is knotted onion, and that's going to be blooming here pretty soon. I can see some buds on it. I don't know if I can zoom in and catch any of those or not. There's one right. Let's see if I can point to it. Guess I can't. Oh, there we go. It's right there. There's a little flower bud, and that's going to be a pretty little pinky white flower. And down in the front of this bed is a ground cover, and this is dead nettle. And I bought this thinking it was a native, and then I found out it wasn't. But man, it's a beautiful plant. It starts blooming in spring, and it's been blooming ever since. And even when it's not blooming in the wintertime, the foliage is just beautiful. It's green with some white veining, almost silvery looking. But I have to keep an eye on it because it will take over. But it does make a good ground cover because there's no weeds coming up through that little patch of stuff. And then last but not least, we have some star sedge here at the very end. See some weeds in there that need to be pulled out. But that is how my Monarch Way Station is looking. I hope you've enjoyed this tour, and maybe we'll show it again later in the season. With all the wet weather we've been experiencing this spring, we've started having some issues with some of our plants. So we're going to try to get some videos done and show you what's been going on and what we're doing to try to alleviate the problems. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.